Well, looks like I made it on top of the planet today. Quite the view. A little gnarly up here. Well, how's this for a view? On top of the planet today. When that's a call for elk for anybody who doesn't, not familiar. Went exploring to some places I haven't been today. Brr. Found my way to the top of this sort of a mountain, and can't see, but my pickup truck is like way down there. Got up here on an old quad trail, then hiked up the top of this thing and these rocks. A little chilly. I'm out of the wind. The other side's frickin' windy. Show you guys a view of that after, maybe. Now, good place to sit and hang out. Use the binoculars looking down the mountain, and I'm gonna get some voices heard while I'm here. How's that sound? A little chilly. All right, here we go. Listen to this. Hi Steve, my name is Randy Parker. I'm 60 years old. You can use my name if you like. I'm from Washington State and I hunt the foothills of the Cascades for elk. 20 years ago, two of my friends and I had gone pre-season scouting for elk for the day. About the last half hour of light, we had found a main game trail at the end of a dead-end road on top of a main ridge, and we decided to take a short hike and check it out. I decided to leave my .44 mag in the truck. Never again. About 15 minutes into the hike, all three of us had heard the most deep guttural growl off to our left, no more than 20 to 30 yards away. This seemed to vibrate through your body like a lot of the lion's body, a lot like a lion's growl, but louder. At that moment, the three of us did a 180 turn back to the truck, and not one word was said until we were all in the truck. As I was backing up, all we could say is, what the F was that? I've experienced a lot of encounters with bears bluff charging me and popping their teeth, and even fighting in a close proximity. I've never had anything get to me as much as that growl did. Holy shit. I have a couple more stories I'll share with you later. Prayers go out to you and your friend and her family. God bless. All right, man. Appreciate it. It's too bad we can't get across to the public, the people that aren't familiar with just how significant the growls must be, right? We've all heard growls. I've heard it all from grizzly bears, and but I haven't heard what's described by you and many other people. And I'm not curious to either myself. I've heard and seen enough. But anyway, again, you guys get a chance to get an email out. Put it all in the same one if you can, all right? I'm looking forward to hearing more from you if you got more. Uwharrie National Forest Experience. Steve, my name is Brian. I live in Texas now, but born and raised in the foothills of North Carolina. My story is from when I was a teenager and the older sibling of two sisters. My mother took us to a Morrow Mountain State Park near the Uwharrie National Forest one summer to swim and hike. I was around 16 years old at the time, and she wanted to do something fun for us. We spent the whole day at the pool and did some hiking and exploring. Near the end of the day, we visited one of the old homesteads and walked behind it to the sunken graveyard. Yes, the graves behind the homestead have sunken around 12 to 18 inches below the surface. Not sure if it's due to the decomposition of the boxes due to time, ground moisture, or being dug up. As a teenager, I never took the time to learn the history, just went along for the ride. As we started walking around exploring, my sisters and I started to jump over the graves and occasionally stepping in to see how deep they are. Pretty dumb, but we were 16, 12, and 10, respectively, and didn't understand the disrespect. Get it? Things got interesting shortly after we arrived in the graveyard. I smelled what I thought was a skunk, but more pungent. Then the wind came out of nowhere like a storm was brewing. I thought it strange as it was a bright sunny day, and this type of wind would be very difficult to feel in the forest areas of this mountain, as we were surrounded by pine and oak trees up to 20 to 30 feet tall. What really got us moving out of the area was the wind started blowing. We heard loud knocks on trees, like someone was banging it with a baseball bat or an axe. I didn't see anyone at all in the area, and we had the only vehicle parked at the homestead. At first I thought maybe it was the wind making the trees creak, but this was distinguishable knocking noise, not tree creaking or popping, which I've heard many times in the forest and is very recognizable. At this point, something inside me said, "Apologize and get the F out." I said out loud, "I'm sorry," and told everyone to get to the car. My mother never said anything until the knocking and agreed, "Let's get out of here." The strange part is that when I was that age, I thought it was the ghost of the people in the grave possibly warning us. I felt like something had attached itself to me and was following me home. However, over the years that has changed, and I think we happened upon something passing through or living in the area and didn't want us around. The smells and the knocking is what finally got me to think that what we were experiencing was something more living than dead. And the many stories I hear on your channel justify my change. Thanks for being a platform for folks like me. I've never told this story to anyone. It's been 30 years since that experience. I'm glad you shared it here, finally. And I agree, it wasn't something dead, and it was just by chance I think you and that being were in the same zone, if I had to guess. Oh, it's chilly, you guys. Thanks for sending that in. Appreciate your time. Glad you got it off your chest. It's titled Afghanistan. Hi, Steve. I just found your channel a couple months ago, and I really enjoy it. When I was growing up in Oregon in the 60s, Sasquatch was a taboo subject, even though many folks knew they were real. I spent many years packing into the Cascades, and I have a couple of my own encounters. But what prompted me to write were the other stories about Afghanistan. In the early 80s, I had a friend, now deceased, from Afghanistan. And once I asked him if he had ever heard stories about the Almasty, the Central Asian/Russian Sasquatch, and he had. One evening, just as it was getting dark, he was sent to fetch the family goats. He had to walk up a steep mountain trail, which was blocked at one point by a huge, hairy, man-like creature with red eyes. It growled at him, and being terrified, my friend fled for home. He got in a lot of trouble for not returning with the goats. I also met a Yakima Indian man who told me that once, while walking on the res, his grandfather encountered a Sasquatch. They peacefully acknowledged each other, and each went on his way. I've been asking people about this subject for 40 years before it was a thing. I'm sending a photo of a track I hope you can identify. I took this photo a year ago at the top of the Long Beach Peninsula in Washington. If you park on the bay side of Willapa Bay and walk up the beach, there's a trail through the pine forest to reach the ocean on the other side. That pine forest trail has always given me the creeps. Last October, on the trail to the bay side parking lot, I became so overwhelmed with fear I started running. I ran until I reached the bay beach where I found these tracks. The cuff of my sweater is 6 inches for reference. What could have made them? They were alone on the beach and not there an hour earlier. There are no wolves here. There are cougars, but in this case, why would the claws be extended? I really wish I had taken a photo of how they lined up in the sand, which I don't remember. I only took the photo because I was impressed by the claw marks. Decades ago in the 70s, a Sasquatch was sighted on that beach, and 18 months ago, a photo of a wolverine eating a dead seal was taken on the ocean side of the peninsula that shocked everyone. The only thing I can think of that made this track is a wolf dog alone on the beach. An abandoned pet, perhaps? Any thoughts? What has captured my admiration of your channel above other Sasquatch channels is your relentless search for the truth and insistence on giving a voice to all. I believe the chastising emails you receive are mostly paid trolls. Who else would have time for that? Keep up the great work. If you read this, you may use my name. Sincerely, Chris Aguilar. 6 inches. if I had to get, I mean, it's obviously canine. To me, first glance, canine. Canine and 6 inches. That'd be like wolf size. If your cuff's 6, that makes it about 5.5. Yeah, I don't know. Running coyote, running big mature coyote, or a average wolf. It's my guess. Excuse me. It's tough to tell with only one track, you know, and no stride in between. But there you go. Appreciate your time you took to send that email to everybody through me. And yeah, I don't know. The people that send me the nasty emails is what it is. It's kind of funny. Lately, I've had I had a flurry of emails of people complaining about some YouTube channel that's making videos about me and saying not so cool things. Is what it is. Don't let it get to you guys, all right? Don't let it get to you. Especially when they're making a video. When they're making a video of this channel, they are promoting the shit out of it. It's kind of funny how many people done that past. They had a hate on for me, a hate on for what's going on here, and want this to stop. So they actually went out of their way to make videos and try to do whatever they try to do to have a negative impact on this channel. But it's amazing to me how many people don't understand that every time they do that, all they do is promote it. There's no other thing. There's nothing else can happen but promoting a channel if you go out of your way to make a video about a channel. So it is what it is. And it's funny too, previously when I was aware of a whole pile of these channels going crazy, I took note of it, and it took me 2 or 3 seconds just to go out and I'd block them. So a few of these channels that are doing it right now, just so you guys know, they've been blocked. So they've been blocked from the channel, so that means they had to open up another email account, open another YouTube channel just to watch our channel. So if it makes you upset that they're doing what they're doing, maybe this will bring it some more comfort to you, knowing that all of us are living in their head. This channel and myself are living in their head rent-free, and they just cannot stay away. All right? And it's okay. It's all right. People gonna hate. People gonna hate. Nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Let's get on listening to the people. 1979 Thanksgiving Sabbath sighting. Dear Steve, I can't say enough good things about your channel. It's by far my favorite channel subject on television. You've been on one of your adventures during the last week, and my wife and I have been anxiously awaiting your return. We're excited to hear and see what you experienced while you're away. This may be long, but I think it's worth the read. I've had many experiences of Sabbath in my life, and that's why I can confidently call them what they are. Most of these experiences were while I was hunting alone, but may happen when my wife and I were together hunting and fishing, etc. This particular experience happened on Thanksgiving Day 1979. I was hunting alone in the Absaroka Mountains, south of Livingston, Montana, where I was living and working at the time. I and 2 of my so-called friends left my home very early that Thanksgiving morning and drove the 30 or so miles to the turnoff that took us into some very beautiful but rugged mountains. It had snowed more than a foot the night before, which made for a challenging and interesting drive in. I was chained up on all 4 tires, but still had a couple close calls on the narrow trail. I drove as far as I could before I eventually got stuck, mostly because of how steep the trail was. I wasn't too worried about getting unstuck because I knew I could back to a turnaround spot I had just passed. So I parked and got busy gathering my gun, gloves, backpack, etc. I looked at my friends, LOL, and told them to hurry and get ready and let's go. I drank a few beers the night before, and without looking at me, they both told me they wouldn't be able to make it. Pussies. I had already made that assumption, so I wasn't surprised. I shut my Jimmy door and started walking. The snow was deep, making for tough walking, and there were drifts even deeper I had to get through, sometimes to my waist. I guess I'd gone about a mile after an hour of struggling when I glassed the side of a hill of a mountain in front of me about a quarter mile and spotted what looked like a line of tracks from a small herd of elk headed toward a pocket of timber down from me and to the right. I figured they were bedded down on the timber. So I hiked down a ways and took up a position that allowed me to see about 250 degrees from my left around to my right that covered that whole pocket of timber. I had a big tree behind me and huge boulders behind that. I could only stand because the snow was so deep, but I could see everything of interest very well. I'd been there for at least a couple hours when I started hearing voices. There's a large drainage way around to my right, about 200 yards, running straight away from me, and I thought it might be where the voices were coming from, and it turned out I was right. Just above the drainage was a huge park, mostly flat, between me and the pocket of timber where I believe the elk were bedded. The park was about 50 yards from me, and then a couple hundred yards to the pocket, and probably twice that from the drainage to the heavy timber in front of me. I was listening hard and watching the drainage when I started smelling cigarette smoke coming from the same place as the voices. I immediately thought it was my two buddies because they both smoked. Not only were they talking very loud, but the smoke was so strong I knew if there were elk anywhere around, they wouldn't be for long, and good luck getting a shot. I was watching the drainage very closely when suddenly out popped a sabe moving at full speed. I guess it was full speed because it sprinted that 400 or 500 yards in deep snow, taking no more than 15 seconds. That would be absolutely mind-boggling to witness. When he came out of the timber in that drainage, I must have gasped or something because without losing stride, it turned its head and looked directly at me. I felt like it marked me because I continue to have experiences involving them to this day. No, I don't like it or want it. I know they do not have good intentions. It had longish dark brown or black hair all over its body. I would say it was anywhere between 9 to 10 feet tall with long legs that easily ran through probably 3 foot of snow, amazingly quick. It had a dark but sort of human-like face that showed expression as it looked towards me. The voices I heard were from two hunters. What? The voices I had heard were from two hunters, or should I say morons, that after about 5 minutes, while I was still trying to process what I just witnessed, walked up and out of the same drainage about 75 yards closer to me than the sabe, and they hadn't seen anything. Not even the trail where it had come out and ran, but they'd tried to walk the same direction anyway. Hunting, I guess, with no clue, but I could see their struggle to make it even 10 yards, and they turned around and followed their own tracks behind back into the drainage. I could hear them talking for another 30 minutes at least. Unbelievable. I didn't bother trudging through that deep snow to go down and look for tracks. I was already wore out, and I already knew for certain what I'd seen. You knew what made the tracks. I finally got back to my Jimmy and was happy to see my buddies were pretty mad and cold. I'd taken the keys with me, you bastard, on purpose, haha. And as expected, after a detailed account of my experience, they laughed and joked about it all the way home. Needless to say, but as you say, I threw them to the curb. Sorry it was so long, but I hope it was worth it. It was to me, because like you, my wife and I are knowers to the 10th degree. Thanks, Steve, for all you do. ARC and DLC. That is one hell of an experience, man. It's one hell of an experience. And from what I've gathered from people just like you and me, you didn't hear you gasp. They know. When you lock eyes on them, they know. How do they know? I don't know. It's their intuition. They are absolutely in tune with it, I'll tell you what. If you hear a little meadow clanging over there, there's actually a radio tower about 75 yards from me, if you guys are hearing that, all right? Yeah. How many times have you heard of hunters seeing these things running away, and the second they look at them, acknowledge what they're looking at, the things turn around and look them square in the eye, or, quote, looked right through my scope, right into my frickin' eyeball, back at me. Heard that so many times it's ridiculous. Heard of hunters seeing them walking away, and when they see them, the second they look, their eyes lock on that being from behind, it stops dead and freezes. What the hell's up with that? Right? What the hell's up with that one? That's a skill, I'll tell you what. This is one hell of a survival skill to be in tune with. I'm getting cold. here comes another one. Thanks again for sending that, man. Absolutely appreciate it. If you feel you've been tagged since then, send more. Send all you got. Send the knowledge, all right? Jonathan's view explained. Dear Steve, in response to Jonathan's explanation of our world, please ask him to send more information. It all seems to make sense, and I'm in shock. I've known about the Pleiadians, too, and Sabe since I heard a scream on Mount St. Helens back in the 1970s. When I wrote my story in the comments, I was attacked by an angry viewer, but defended by others. My story was simple. It was about following my intuition. Steve, you are the one honorable man we've been waiting for. Your kindness and respect give us strength to tell our story in safety. Thank you from my heart and soul. You also bring out the good in all of us. I'm hoping that you can convey to Jonathan that we need more information about what comes next. Now that we have this information, what can we do to make our future better for all of us? This is a question I ponder every day. Thank you, Steve. Sincerely, Cynthia Warmblood. Cynthia, when did you send this to me? September 16th, 2021. Wow. Sorry it took so long to get to you. So I guess if anybody wants to be the sleuth, I'm guessing the video must have been around the 15th or 14th. I'm guessing within a couple days you sent this in. Because I definitely don't remember that one. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't remember it. All right. Ooh, this looks like a long one. I don't think I have time to do that one. I might freeze to this rock. I'll read that later on, though. How about this one? This one's probably just about right for length. Not sure, but is the title of this one. Dear Steve, thank you for providing this service. I believe this is absolutely important and what is needed for more than one reason. I greatly appreciate it. Before I detail my experience, let me provide a brief introduction. First, I've been camping, fishing, and hunting most of my life. I spent quite a bit of time in the forest and bush. Secondly, my experience happened over 45 years ago. I've thought about this all my life since then. Dreamt about it too. It has not been until quite recently that I thought that this strange experience could be related to Sasquatch/Sabe. To the experience, date mid-August 74, location Tahoe Yosemite Trail, portion of the Pacific Coast Trail, also known as the Desolation Wilderness. This area was identified by one of your other sharers and isn't far from where Ron Moorhead recorded the Sierra Sounds. Myself and two friends were backpacking for a week west of Echo Summit on Highway 50 and were camped out at Lake Ralston near Ralston Peak at over 8,000 feet and surrounded by granite and sporadic high timber. On one night we were there, all three of us experienced some very weird phenomena. It was a bright white light shining through the trees to the southeast of us. It stayed stationary and it was incredibly bright, significantly brighter than any star, although the stars were beautiful at that elevation. It wasn't Venus and it was not present on any other night. We also heard what was described as a siren-like sound. It sounded like a woo, 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 and repeated with almost no break for several minutes. Then the siren-like sound stopped and we heard what we thought were voices calling, but we could not make out the words. These vocals were coming in from the direction of the light and siren-like sound. All the sounds were fairly distant, certainly at least a few hundred yards away back the way we had hiked to get to where we were camped. These things occurred roughly simultaneously. The siren-like sound ended first. The voices started after that. Light stayed present throughout. The entire experience lasted for half an hour, then nothing. We don't see anything unusual or smell anything rank. We decided that this experience was very strange, but maybe there was a fire or someone was lost and that is what was going on. We didn't experience anything like that again for the rest of our story. We hiked out a few days later. We checked at the lodge at Echo Lakes. They didn't know what we were talking about and said there had been no fires or searches for any lost hikers during the week and we're back in the wilderness. Sorry, during the week we were back in the wilderness. At least that they knew. None of us mentioned anything about Bigfoot as we called them then. So that's it. by watching your station and hearing Mr. Moorhead's and Lestroud's experiences, it dawned on me that these types of phenomena have all been experienced by others, and that perhaps our weird experience was of a hairy people origin. I'm open to people's input, and please feel free to use my name, and thank you. John Schultz, Salem, Oregon. John, that's a hell of an experience, man. That's a head shaker to have to experience and then have to share with people that weren't there and wouldn't have a clue what was going on, just like the rest of us, right? But many people have had the same experience you've had, right? Oh, it's freezing up here. I gotta get back down there. I didn't dress I got carried away. I went for a big hike from the truck and then hiked back, jumped the quad, and then started to go sniffing around, and I wasn't really prepared with my clothing, so I'm freezing. And I'm on the other side of the hill where I came from. The wind is screaming. I'm gonna take you guys over there in a minute and give you a view on that side. But anyway, if anybody else is familiar with what this gentleman described, or has been in the same area, witnessed the same thing, and maybe you want to email us all, or share that in the comment section below anyway, and reach out. So much crazy shit going on. I'm kind of pissed off myself right now. I'm completely out of sight of my gear and my rifles on the other side of the hill here too. So I should probably get back to my shit, and we'll see. Maybe I'll get another one added on here before I go out and get back. And these are Leica binoculars for, I know somebody's gonna ask me, they're Leica binoculars. I received them as a tip sheep hunting years ago. But my favorite Swarovski binoculars fell apart. I didn't have time to send them out to get them repaired, and I totally forgot I had these ones. So that's what I got. Yeah. Oh, I got no gloves either. What a dumbass. Would be surprised if it snows fairly soon. Gonna get a dusting for sure, I'll bet. Anyway, maybe I'll hop over the other side and give you guys a view from the other side. Right now, I think we're looking east right now. All right, and the Peace River is way down in that draw. The Peace River is flowing that way, and now Alberta's that way. Yeah, Alberta's about that way. Anyway, a side note, right down below me is where that gentleman, the American veteran, emailed us a couple years ago about being up here camping with his dog in his van, and that thing with the red eyes, huge, came out behind his van, absolutely pissed, screwed him right up. And after sharing his experience here through us and getting encouragement from me and others, he actually started to go back out in the woods. And I know you're watching, and just so you know, I'm right above where you were. Right above. Oh, it's freezing. All right, I'll be back shortly. I'm gonna give you guys a view on the other side. I'm gonna get my ass out of here. It's a little windy, you guys. Whew. It's Williston Lake. There's a big dam down there. Peace River drains out of that sucker. All right, I'm done with this wind and freezing cold. Gotta go get warm. There's the edge of the lake. It's a big one. Not the south end of it. Southeast end, I guess. That's where I was up there earlier. That's where you got the view from. Miles and miles and miles and miles of country. So, first glance, the dirt here looks fairly chopped up. Definitely have elk track droppings. Everything's grown up. Eating grasses and stuff is all grown. Yeah. The salt is definitely licked. A lot. It's not all gone. I'm just surprised. Unfortunately, my camera's been spun. Probably a bear. Hopefully, it got a lot of content on it before. Got annihilated. Could have swore I left 2 cameras. We'll see. I'll have a look around. It's looking good. The elk are loving it here. It's good. All right.